going on, everybody? Mike McFarland here. It is Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. Going to give you a little rundown. It's going to be a quick one. We are right in the middle of August where everything is just the same. So the last few reports have kind of been redundant, and there's not a lot to be said about that. It's the middle of summer, the dog days of summer. We're almost finished with it. As of next week, we got a pretty big change. If the weathermen are right, the change also comes with 2 or 3 days of thunderstorms, hopefully some rain, hopefully substantial rain. Doesn't look like it, but some rain, and 3 days in a row, which will create a very big cool trend, which, as we discussed in the thermocline lesson, most likely it will begin the turnover. It'll be one of those years where the lake turns over during those 3 days, 2 or 3 days. Debris will start to float through the water column, start showing up on the surface. You're going to see the brown, yellow junk showing up, the methane gases, the bubbles, the bryozoan chunks floating. And then we'll probably heat back up again because September does that. And we may even establish a thermocline a little bit again. That can happen 2 or 3 times. It's not the full-blown turnover, but it's a partial turnover. When the thermocline is broken, the dead debris, oils, and everything comes to the surface. So next week things should change. It looks like 70-degree lows with 80-degree highs. We're talking a 10 to 12 degree swing for highs or better with no heat index. And then, of course, if we have 3 days in a row of cloud cover and rainfall, hopefully a substantial amount of rain that does change something, at least maybe an inch or two, everything's going to really, really change. So again, I'm sorry for some of the redundant report here. The bite's the same, the stuff's the same, the topwater bite, the jig bite, the Carolina rig bite, the shaky head and big worm bite. I can tell you that it's all shallow. If you're fishing deeper than 22 feet, you're wasting your time right now because the thermocline is in play. The early morning bite on the bridge corners, the bridge embankments, the wall of the dam. You can actually catch them with route traps, square bills. You can catch them best on a topwater lure in the right place. There's a pretty good topwater bite along the wall of the dam, but it's short and sweet. And some of the fish are coming up and they're gone down before you can even get to them. It's schooling random open water fish. So really, the bite is the same. I hate to, again, give you the same redundant report, but pretty soon we're going to be into fall, at least the edges of fall. And we'll have more of a spinnerbait bite and an underspin bite, and the bait fish will migrate to the backs of the creeks and coves, and there'll be a lot more to talk about, a lot of different baits to discuss and whatnot, and other patterns to chase, okay? On a not so bright note, we're now down to 395.56. That's reaching the 7.5 foot low pool. We are 1 foot away. I think 8.7 feet is where it got to in 2015. We're only about 1 more foot to go, and it's going to be at least the lowest that I've ever seen it in 10 years. And I'm telling you, the more and more that this goes, the more dangerous this lake gets. One of the biggest variables right now that's making it so dangerous is that the buoy lines are no longer safe. They're no longer safe for multiple reasons. One of the reasons is there are some stumps that were left behind, not cut out, in the general buoy line itself. The other thing is when you have 7.5 feet of slack line, those buoys drift a lot. They float and they drift off base a lot. So if you're running the line, the guide lanes, whether it be Lance Vick's guide lanes, whether it be Curtis's super trails, it doesn't matter which one, they're all good. When you're running those trails, you're on the right spot, provided that your GPS is functioning well and hooked up with the right amount of satellites, etc. And you're going to notice that the buoys, a lot of times you're running your trail, the buoys aren't even where they're supposed to be. That's due to wind and slack line on those buoys. And some of those buoys have drifted into some areas that are not so safe any longer. So the more this goes, the worse this gets on Lake Fork. I highly recommend, with the Berkeley coming and the Sealy Big Bass Splash coming, I highly recommend 2 things. Number 1, you take it easy. Plan on taking it easy. Plan on picking an area and doing a lot more idling than you ever have been on Fork. Fish an area out. Comb it out for everything that it's worth. Don't run around so much. Don't run around like a chicken. The more you run around, the more dangerous it is. Second, when you're making transitions and corners from one buoy line to another, man, slow down and make them tight. Don't drift corners. Guide lanes, a lot of the guide lanes, just don't run them. Those guide lanes were made a lot of times when trees were still standing and there were references, and they drove right by those trees because they stood out of the water. They are broken off and under the water now, and they're unknown. If you don't have them marked with hazard marks, those guide lanes are funneling sometimes like a needle or a thread going right through a needle. There's buoy or stumps on both sides of you, so the guide lanes are probably the most dangerous thing out there to run. And I'm just sharing this with you because I hate any of you to ruin your boat, ruin your equipment, get hurt, injure others, or just simply ruin your day on the water. But this is something I don't like to see. It's too low. It's just too darn low. And that doesn't really look like it's going to change. We have September, October, November, December, January. We got at least 5 more months before we may get some water in this lake. Maybe 6 or 7 months. It's probably going to reach levels that we have never seen on Lake Fork before. Low levels that we've never seen. The clarity's still good. It will change next week with the cool trend. You're going to see that water turn tannicky, orangey, yucky yellow bubble surface. Remember, if you're in yellow bubble water, get out. Just go find some water that's better. There will be some other water to fish. But if you've got yellow bubbles and debris and it looks oily at the surface around you, you're in an area that has turned, and just leave. It's a low oxygen, very depleted oxygen area. Don't be there. 89, 93 degree temperatures. Looking forward to that to go ahead and taper back down. Again, some of the best bites right now are the early morning hours and really the evening hours. Those fish will pull up on those points and shellbed reefs and stuff like that. Don't have a lot more to tell you. So I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate the faithfulness. I appreciate the subscribing base keeps growing and growing. Tell your friends about the basic public rundown that I give. I gave a thermocline lesson just about a week ago. Please go watch that. If you missed that thermocline lesson, it's a 30-minute lesson and probably one of the best deliveries and most important lessons that I've given in a long time. And maybe just one of the best lessons all around that I've really communicated and got my point across. It's a great teaching. It's also followed up with the turnover, what happens to the lake. When it turns over, it makes a really good explanation of what's happening there. And then, on another bright note, I've got my order in with Abu Garcia. I'm getting new rods, new reels, big changes for McFarland Fishing for the season. I got my boat comes back today from the Kilgore factory. It's been refurbished. It's gone through from end to end. 1 year worth of 200 hours. We put a lot of beating on her. And they went and tightened that shit back up for me. So hats off, first of all, to Skeeter. Hats off to the Yamaha. What a great company to be a part of. Hats off to Fred Barthold and Diamond Sports for backing me up and just making me feel like a king in the business. Being able to send my boat back to the factory like that and have them go through it and just odds and ends on little things. And it's back. So my point of sharing that is, if you're looking to get out September, October, November, we're back in business. We're ready to roll. My vacations are over. As much fun as they were, as much fun as I wish that I could take Brooke back to the Arkansas River there and just fish. Reality is it's time to get back to work. So if you want to book me for the Big Bass Splash or the Berkeley event, I suggest you do that now. I booked 4 trips already today. Those dates are filling and they're going away quick. So if you're interested in it, it's in your mind that you're thinking about booking us. Excuse me. I highly recommend that you get that done before there is no more slots. If you're just looking for a day of fishing, October, November, or even some in September here, you just want to come out and go fishing, there are some open dates as that as well. Hit the like button below, comment below. Super thanks if you're feeling funky. And other than that, I'm grateful for you all. I appreciate you. That's the best rundown I can give you for right now. I will see you on Thursday, give you a few more reports. And thanks for watching.